Hey YouTube, this is Donald, and today we're going to play a PlayStation 2 game called Namco Museum. Man, I never saw this game when I was a child, but I got it from my friend who no longer plays video games, but I still do. And I even make videos about them, just for you guys. Anyway, now this game is kind of like an emulator and a whole new thing at the same time. If you look at the back of the case, it's got all kinds of games made by Namco. Namco is the company that makes all kinds of classics back in the early 80s. There's Dig Dug, Galaga, Pac-Man, Galaxian, Miss Pac-Man, Pole Position and Pole Position 2, Dig Dug, and all kinds. So let's try this one. Let's try Pac-Man, the three-dimensional Pac-Man. Let me pause this for a second. Turn up the volume. You can either use the analog stick or the D-pad. This kind of looks like a new version of Pac-Man. And the new background does give it a personality, does give the levels a personality. Dang it, I keep dying. Looks like some of them are going into a sack. This is kind of like the PlayStation 2's version of Pac-Man. Basically. Dang it, why do I keep dying? The pink one is a bit twitchy. It jumps all over the place. Dang it! Why do I keep dying? Man, this version of Pac-Man is tricky. I prefer the original. And it is a far superior port, and the new background does give it a personality. But you get the idea. What's the name of this Pac-Man? Let's see, Pac-Man, oh, and it says on the case, "10 classic arcade hits, 3 new games never released for home consoles, hidden games to unlock." Didn't I unlock them? That's a question. Alright, let's try Pac-Man. I gotta say, this really mimics the arcade. This looks like arcade quality. It's way better than the Atari 2600 version that I have. If you want to really play the arcade version without having to spend quarters on the machine and play on a home console, well, this is it. And the sound effects sound like arcade sound effects, which is really awesome. Oh, just got cornered. There are no continues on this version. Unlike the newer version on the PlayStation 2 itself, this one is just like the arcade with no continues. This is another game you might want to try out if you really want a challenge. Alright, let's try Galaga. Never tried that. I never remember this game as a kid. This is similar to Galaxian, except it's called Galaga. To be honest, I'm not really good at this game, but I'm sure you'll get the idea. This game does have continues. Don't let those things suck you away. Man, I gotta say, the background does give it a lot of a personality. Let's try the original. Man, the sound effects are classic. They literally mimic the arcades with the PlayStation 2. Because of the fact that it's a 128-bit console. They look like bugs or insects. I'm not sure if there's continues on there. Oh! Don't let that thing suck you away. Well, that's game over. But I'm sure you get the idea. On the classic versions, there are no continues, but on the new versions, there are. Now let's try Dig Dug. The arcade versions sound a bit classic. No! You know, I played these games on my plug-and-play console when I was a child. Basically, you keep shooting them until they blow up and explode. Or let them get squashed by a rock. No! Darn, no continues on this version as well. I think square makes you continue. Inserts a coin and makes you continue. Run away, run away, run away! Don't. No! But I'm sure you get the idea. I remember these games when I was a child. Now let's try the new version. There's Pac-Man with the loading sign. Dig Dug Arrangement. Oh, that's what it's called. Man, the PlayStation 2 graphics look good for their time. World of Dig Dug. Well, you get the idea. Next game. Let's try Pole Position. I never remember that game as a kid. But I heard it was ported on the Atari 2600 and the Atari 7800. Actually, Pole Position 2 is ported on the Atari 7800. Press X to accelerate, and use the D-pad or analog stick on the DualShock 2 controller. Man, the acceleration's a little jittery. Well, I'm sure you get the idea. me what's the difference between pole position and pole position 2. Namco, test. Seaside or Wonder. Let's try test. Whoa, I think the steering goes too far with this one. No! If you crash into other cars, you blow up. You keep racing until the time runs out. It's kind of like Night Driver on the Atari 2600. But except this one's made by Namco. Like I said, all these games are made by Namco. And Namco is known for making great classics in the arcades. So, yeah, let's return to the menu. Now let's try Miss Pac-Man. I know this is a long review, but there's like a lot of games in this thing. I played this game on my phone before, but I never played the arcade version before. The sound effects are pretty much the same, except they're different because they're on PlayStation 2. Man, if I'd seen this game if I was a kid, I would have loved it. Oh, I died. No! Well, you get the idea, so next. One more game. Galaxian. I remember this game as a child when I tried out the Namco plug-and-play TV games console. If you want to see this... Oh! Sorry, the camera fell. Hold on. Excuse me, folks, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Alright, I got it. Anyway, here's what the console looks like, by the way. This is all the Namco games I play on this TV games console I have. I no longer play it now that I have this. But it serves me well, and it's powered up by batteries. There's not an option for an AC adapter for it. But enough about that. Let's play Galaxia. You have the option of 2 players on some games, and others, on like pole position, you can't play 2 players with. Oh, and this game is similar to Space Invaders, which I kind of like. Except this is made by Namco. Sorry, I had to remove the sheets up. This accident doesn't happen again. Hold on, let me fix the camera, even though it's the end of the video. But in conclusion, this is a PlayStation 2 game. If you're into playing classic games in the 80s, but couldn't find an arcade machine to go with them, then yeah, if you're into Namco classics, then this is the PlayStation 2 game that you might want to pick up. If you can find one in good working condition, which should be no problem, because this PlayStation 2 Namco Museum game has a copyright date of 2001 and was released in 2001. So anyway, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and like the video, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. This is me, signing off.